Hi, so I'm going to be reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, chapters 15 through 16. So, chapter 15, The Chocolate Room. An important room this, cried Mr. Wonka, taking a bunch of keys from his pocket and slipping one into the keyhole of the door. This is the nerve center of the whole factory, the heart of this whole business, and so beautiful. I insist upon my rooms being beautiful. I can't abide ugliness in factories. In we go, then. But do be careful, my dear children. Don't lose your heads. Don't get overexcited. Keep very calm. Mr. Wonka opened the door. 5 children and 9 grown-ups pushed their ways into, and oh, what an amazing sight it was that now met their eyes. They were looking down upon a lovely valley. There were green meadows on either side of the valley, and along the bottom of it there flowed a great brown river. What is more, there is a tremendous waterfall halfway along the river, a steep cliff over which the water curled and rolled in a solid sheet, and then went crashing down into a boiling, churning water pool of froth and spray. Below the waterfall, and this was the most astonishing sight of all, a lot of mass of enormous glass pipes were dangling down into the river from somewhere high up in the ceiling. They were really enormous. Those pipes, though, there must have been a dozen of them at least, and they were sucking up the brownish muddy water from the river and carrying it away to goodness knows where. And because they were made of glass, you could see the liquid flowing and bubbling along the side of them. And above the nose of the waterfall, you could hear the never-ending sucking sound of the pipes as they did their work. Graceful trees and bushes were growing along the riverbanks, weeping willows and alders and tall clumps of rhododendron with their pink and red mauve blossom. In the meadow there were thousands of buttercups. There, cried Mr. Wonka, dancing up and down, pointing his gold-topped cane at the great brown river. It's all chocolate. Every drop of the river is hot melted chocolate of the finest quality. The very finest quality. There's enough chocolate in there to fill every bathtub in the entire country, and all the swimming pools as well. Isn't it terrific? And just look at my pipes. They suck up chocolate and carry it away, and all the pipes carry it away to all the other rooms in the factory where it is needed. Thousands of gallons an hour, my dear children, thousands and thousands of gallons. The children and their parents were flabbergasted to speak. They were staggered. They were dumbfounded. They were bewildered and dazzled. They were completely bowled over by the hugness of the whole thing. There simply stood and stared. The waterfall is the most important, Mr. Wonka went on. It mixes the chocolate, it churns it up, it pounds it and beats it. It makes light and frothy. No other factory in the world mixes its chocolate by a waterfall. But it's the only way to do it properly. The only way. And do you like my trees? He cried, pointing with his stick, and my lovely bushes. Don't you think they look pretty? I told you I hated ugliness. And of course they are all eatable. All made of something different and delicious. And do you like my meadows? Do you like my grass and my buttercups? The grass you are standing on, my dear little ones, is made of a new kind of soft, minty sugar that I just invented. It's called sewage. Try it, Blade. Please do. It's delightable. Automatically, everyone bent down and picked one blade of grass. Everyone, that is, except Augusta Goot, who was a big handful. And Violet, before tasting her blade of grass, she took out the world record-breaking chewing gum out of her mouth and stuck it carefully behind her ear. Isn't it wonderful? Whispered Charlie. Hasn't it got a wonderful taste, Grandpa? I could eat the whole field, said Grandpa Joe, grinning with the delight. I could go around on all fours like a cow and eat every blade of grass in the field. Try a buttercup, cried Mr. Wonka. They're even nicer. Suddenly the air was filled up with screams and excitement. The screams came from Victor Salt. She pointing frantically to the other side of the river. Look, over there, she screamed. What is it? He's moving over. He's moving. He's walking. It's a little person. It's a little man. Down there below the waterfall, everyone stopped picking buttercups and stared across the river. She's right, Grandpa, cried Charlie. It's a little man. Can you see him? I see him, Charlie, Grandpa Joe said Grandpa Joe excitedly. And now everybody started shouting at once. There's two of them. Oh my gosh, there is. There's more than two. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are they doing? Where do they come from? Who are they? Children and parents alike rushed down to the edge of the river to get a closer look. Aren't they fantastic? No, higher than my knee. Look at their funny long hair. The tiny men, they are no larger than medium-sized dolls, had stopped. What they were doing, and now they were staring back across the river at the visitors. One of them pointed towards the children, and then he whispered something to the other 4 and 5 of them burst into peals of laughter. But they can't be real people, Charlie said. Of course they're real people, Mr. Wonka answered. They're Oompa Loompas. Okay, so that was chapter 15. Chapter 16 is the Oompa Loompas. Oompa Loompas Oompa Loompas, sorry. Everyone said at once. Oompa Loompas imported directly at Woopaland, said Mr. Wonka proudly. There's no such place, said Mr. Salt. Excuse me, dear lady, but Mr. Wonka cried. Mrs. Salt, I am a teacher of geography. Then you'll know about it, said Mr. Wonka, and oh, what a terrible country it is. Nothing but thick jungles infested by the most dangerous beast in the entire world. Hornswoggers and snazwoggers and those terribly wicked wangdoodles and wangdoodles would eat 10 Oompa Loompas for breakfast and come galloping back for a second helping. When I was out there, I found the little Oompa Loompas living in a treehouse. They had to live in tree houses to escape from the wangdoodles and the hornswoggers and the snowy woggers, and they were particularly starving to death. They were living on, and Oompa Loompas spent every moment of their days climbing through the treetops looking for another things to mash up with their caterpillars to make them taste better. Red beetles, for instance, the eucalyptus leaves and the bark on the bong bong tree, all of them beastlies. Not quite so beastlies as a caterpillar. Poor little Oompa Loompas. The one food that they longed for more than any other was the cocoa bean, but they couldn't get it. The Oompa Loompa was lucky if he found 3 or 4 cocoa beans a year, but oh, how they craved them. They used to dream about cocoa beans all night and talk about them all day. If you had only mentioned the word coca to a Oompa Loompa, and he would start dribbling at the mouth. The cocoa bean, Mr. Wonka continued, which grows on the cocoa tree, happens to be the thing from which the chocolate is made. You can't make chocolate without cocoa beans. The cocoa beans is chocolate. I myself use billions of cocoa beans every week in this factory. And so, my dear children, as soon as I discovered the Oompa Loompas were crazy for this particular food, I climbed up their treehouse village and poked my head in through the door of the treehouse belonging to the leader of the tribes. The poor little fellow, looking thin and starved, was sitting there trying to eat a bowl of fresh mashed up green caterpillars without being sick. Look here, I said, speaking not in English, of course, but Oompa Loompish. look here. If you and all your people will come back to my country and live in my factory, you can have all the cocoa beans you want. I've got mountains of them in my storehouses. You can have cocoa beans for every meal. You can gorge yourselves silly on them. I'll pay you wages in cocoa beans if you wish. You really mean it? I asked the Oompa Loompas leader, leaping from his chair. Of course I mean it, I said. And you can have chocolate, as well. Chocolate tastes even better than cocoa beans because it's got milk and sugar added. The little man gave a great whoop of joy and threw his bowl of mashed caterpillars right out of the treehouse window. It's a deal, he cried. Come on, let's go. So I shipped them all over here, every man, woman, and child in the Oompa Loompa tribe was easily smuggled them over in large packing cases with holes in them, and they all got here safely. They are wonderful workers. They all speak English now. They love dancing and music. They are always making up songs. I expect you will hear a good deal of singing today from time to time. I must warn you, though, that they are rather mischievous. They like jokes. They still wear the same kind of clothes they wore in the jungle. They insist upon that. The men, as you can see for yourself across the river, wear only deer skins. The women wear leaves and the men wear nothing at all. The men used a fresh leaf. The women use fresh leaves every day. Daddy! Shouted Victus Salt, the girl that gets everything she wanted. Daddy! I want an Oompa Loompa. I want you to get me an Oompa Loompa. I want an Oompa Loompa. Right away! I want to take it home with me. Go on it, Daddy. Get me an Oompa Loompa. Now, my pet, her father said to her. We mustn't interrupt Mr. Wonka. But I want an Oompa Loompa, screamed Virika. All right, Virika. All right. But but I can't get it. But if I can't get this for you the second, please be patient. I'll see you one before the day is out. Augusta, shouted Mr. Goop. Augusta, sweetheart, I don't think you had better do that. Augusta Goop, as you might have guessed, and had quietly sneaked down to the edge of the river. He was now kneeling on the river bank, scooping hot chocolate into his mouth as fast as he could.